What's up, guys? How's it going? We are here today at State Street, and we're about to have a super great conversation with my good friend Ejay O'Donnell right here. But this is kind of a big deal. This is the first of hopefully many conversations, video series, whatever you want to call it. Right now, we've dubbed it the no name.
Just casual coffee conversations.
Series. Literally, it's so fresh. We do not have a name for this series yet, but it's coming. But we thought, you know what? Instead of waiting, let's push. Let's do it. And so, before I begin, first of all, got to thank Dusty and Alicia of State Street for just letting us, hijack their beautiful space. If you haven't been here for drinks or play date with the kids and good wine, good beer, give it a go. Also, the 1884 kind of crew got Zach Reed behind the camera, getting the shots. Anna Mishke behind the scenes as well. Just really thankful for their support. And then, here we are. Ejay O'Donnell.
Thanks for having me.
Stoked to have you. Stoked to have you be the first one to be a part of this series. I reached out to Ejay what was that, 6 months ago?
A while,
it was something like that. I was in my backyard. I remember I was in my backyard. I was raking. I was doing something very adultish and raking my leaves or mowing the lawn. And I was like, man, I think I want to do this, and I think I want Ejay to be the first one.
Dude, cool.
And I shot him a text, and he was like, yeah, bro, let's do it. And so 6 months later,
Here we are,
Dude. Man. So cheers to that. Boom.
Yes.
But yeah, so basically what I'm trying to do is, connect with local Tacomans kind of doing things, movers, creatives, entrepreneurs, artists, people just thinking outside the box. And I think from my experience, or from what my perspective from I first met you 2007, 2008, back in the Imperial Motion days.
Yep.
And then seeing you come from that, creating your business into where you are today. And, I know the big steps that you've taken, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Just taking those big leaps. I get it. It's crazy. And
Dude,
so
it's
I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, we can even go back to as far back as why I stayed in Tacoma. So there's a piece of this where, so I've been in Tacoma since 1987. So I was born in Spokane. I moved over here when I was two or three, when my dad took a job over here. My parents bounced around a lot when they were kids, and so when they had kids, they were like, we want to stay. So I went to 3 schools, which I'm super grateful for. I still have friends from kindergarten. So Sherman, Truman, and Wilson are where I went to school, and so I became friends with these people early on, and I didn't realize it until now how important that was to have these 25-year-old friendships, 30-year-old friendships. But it's been one of the coolest things to be able to grow up in a city that I've seen kind of all the steps of it. And so early on, what got me into moving towards more art and whatnot was graffiti. So in '96, I was exposed to graffiti by one of my best friends from kindergarten. His uncle was Cheese. He painted the first piece in the Underworld, the Underworld is underneath 34th Street on the train tracks there. It used to be, it's an iconic spot. It's definitely a lot more policed now. Back in the day, you could pretty much come and go as you want. But he painted the first piece there, and he's like, yo, check this out. And this was in 6th grade. And I immediately, when I saw it, I was like, yes, I want to do this. And so that's what kind of sparked my creativity. So at the time, there was just a couple crews painting graffiti. There wasn't anything big or whatever. And so and there was no real internet at the time either. So anytime you wanted to meet
pre-internet.
anytime you wanted to meet somebody, you had to go under a bridge and just so happen to cross paths with somebody, go to the underworld, whatever. Like you wouldn't. It wasn't like it is today, where you can go to the internet and find any graffiti artist around. And so early on, I tapped into the graffiti world, and as I've gotten older, I've gone all the way back to kindergarten. I was like, my first introduction to like art was mirror those 8.5 by 11 alphabet letters they would just give you and like color it in. I, for whatever reason, remember those. And it's like all the way back to kindergarten. I was like, man, I just remember coloring it in. It was fun. And then the next step was graffiti. I saw it. It's like this letter structure, but then I can do whatever I want with it. And so that's what kind of started my, I guess, creativity side of, you have an A, like a structure, but you can do whatever. There's no box. You can, graffiti literally is your style.
Right.
And so that was part of the reason why I stayed here, is because I've seen every inch of this city in so many different ways because of graffiti. All the back alleys, all the bridges, rooftops that I shouldn't have been on at some point. Like it was very much home. Like I built kind of my art creativity here. And so as I got older, and I had this opportunity to help build a business, it was in the design space. It was like taking like graffiti, but moving into the digital realm, which was graphic design, and it so happened the product was stickers. And so when I got introduced to that, it was a no-brainer. It was like, this is next.
And it's like, so you were the type that wanted to color outside the lines.
Always.
And what, kind of boundary can I go over and create something different and new?
Yeah, because originality is so key to being just an individual, right? Like, it just, why be anybody else but yourself? And you can showcase that through your style, through art, through the way, whatever it is that you do. And so it never put me in a bounding box. Like, and thank God my parents were like pretty lax and letting me kind of go roam the streets a little bit. I mean, they definitely held me accountable for my actions, but they allowed me to go explore and like be an individual. There's like my kid is a graffiti artist, like that doesn't, he's out painting. I mean, they definitely didn't really realize I was out painting as frequently as much back in the day, but over time, like as I kind of removed myself from it, because there's real consequences to it. Especially you get older, you kind of understand what you're doing a little bit more, but also you get in some serious trouble for it. Right. And Tacoma did a really good job of like actually embracing the art form though, which is something I really appreciated too. The garages was a good spot. All the alleys on 6th Ave are pretty much open walls with permission. You got to know the right people to paint them. Right. But even the city started commissioning us after a certain number of years because of the Fab 5 organization, which is now Fabitat. So it's still going because of the graffiti that we did and the group that we were part of, Fab 5. Jason Hewlin helped get into Safe Streets and kind of fight for the budgets. So we used to get paid for doing murals and doing all this stuff. So the city was really embracing of the art. So regardless if I was like living here, driving up to Seattle for work, because it was hard to find work, like good money work here in Tacoma. And I happened to find an opportunity that it wasn't good money at the time. It was just an opportunity to do something I really enjoyed doing. And so it was worth me driving, but I never realized why I stayed here up until I guess recently. So
that's cool to hear that, you took, as a kid, going that graffiti route, getting that artistic passion, and then taking that same sort of mindset and passion and saying, okay, how can I build a business around this? The style, the design, the creativeness. And that's kind of exactly what you did. Yeah. So I didn't start the business, but the business was going, but I was just a key component of it. Okay. And so I was able to bring in that little bit of just different, I guess, creative side to it, I guess you could say. So Daniel, who owns Die Cut Stickers, he's sales marketing guy's a genius when it comes to like running a business. And then I kind of came in and was like the internet was just really starting to pop off as an internet company, but it was, between him and I, we were really good yin and yang. He's definitely more the conservative kind of, how do I put it? He was good at making sure things were going to be happening, and I was like kind of pushing the boundaries of like, let's continue to move forward. So it was a really good relationship early on that kind of brought that
good flavor early on to actually make this thing go. And timing was impeccable too. It was 2008, just after the recession. And, once we relaunched the website, it was everyone turned into an entrepreneur at that point. They're losing their jobs. They're trying to figure things out. What are they going to do? It's like, well, I need to start my own business. What's the first thing you think of when you start your own business? T-shirts and stickers. And so where are you going to go to get stickers? The internet. And we just so happen to be there.
Dang, man. That's wild.
Yeah,
and I remember back then when, like I said, when we first met and you were slinging stickers, and I didn't know there was an industry.
Either did I.
First of all, I didn't know there was an industry for that, and so to be able to remember back then and then look at today and be like, not only do I know there's an industry for that, but die cut stickers is kind of like the only, in my mind, that I know of, because how relevant they've been and consistent in the platform that they've created for themselves. Like, that's what you guys did.
Yeah.
And like, it's, being a small business owner, I get it. I know what it takes. Just your first 3 years, let alone, what was it, 16?
I did it for 11 years full-time. 4 years prior to that, I had a full-time job and we were doing it part-time.
Yeah.
So 15 total years.
That's, the amount of commitment and honestly craziness. You kind of have to be crazy to jump in.
Well, and then you throw in this variable of me commuting too.
Yeah.
I was driving from Tacoma to Seattle, plus working these 12, 14-hour days, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It's like, at the time I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, so it was like I got to just kind of invest into those things that I wanted to do, which it was really interesting too, because I actually could have gone to college for free. My mom worked at UPS at the time. There was a tuition exchange. I walked into 2 different art schools and walked right out and said, it's something in me said it wasn't for me. And so I wanted to pursue this sticker thing because it was fun. We were just having fun. And when you're having fun, all the rest kind of takes care of itself. We had to learn it all. I mean, when you build a business from scratch, there's no playbook. So you just kind of start going forward one day at a time, and then, oh, we need another person. What do we do? Oh, we have to hire somebody. And then when you have more staff, what do you need? A handbook to make sure to protect everything. And then it's like, oh crap, we don't have enough room. We need to find a new spot. I mean, it was just kind of like this crazy leap. We moved 5 times in 10 years. The growth of people and the growth of business coming in was unbelievable, that you just rode the wave.
5 times?
Yeah. You just rode the wave. It was fun.
That's wild.
But things changed only for me once I had kids. That was the biggest kicker for me. But I've always been here in Tacoma because I just love the city. I don't know it's really hard to wrap my head around why I love it so much, except it's always just been home. All my friends and family are here. It's definitely kind of that underdog mentality. It's gritty, all the things that are embedded in my DNA. And even though I was driving somewhere for work, it's like I continued to take what the city gave to me up to that work. And I just found myself constantly wanting to get back here and pursue more. So over the last couple of years, I started a run club, and then I started a mentorship program, because I wanted to give that opportunity to other people. It's like I have a lot of experience now being able to help grow a business. How can I help others kind of posture up so that they can be successful? And so I found myself doing that a lot more frequently over the last couple of years, and it's been really, really fun doing it, because there's so much talent and potential here. It just hasn't been exposed yet, in my opinion. There's a lot of people doing really cool things, but they haven't really had a chance to explode. And so I wanted to be able to come in and try to help that.
Yeah. Well, also, you're having, Lindsay as your number one supporter.
Thank God for her. I wouldn't be, she's definitely gone through hell and high water with me, especially when you are that invested into a business, and a lot of times you're doing more business than family time, because you have that commitment, and then you build something up that is successful, and you don't want to lose it. And so you're like, what do I do? I have to answer this last email, or I got to do this last thing. It took a really long time to realize the work will still be there tomorrow. You need to get back home, especially with an hour and a half drive. It's so she's been my most insane supporter. I don't know how she stuck with me, but I'm very lucky that she did, because it's been she's the greatest gift I've ever gotten. That's for sure.
Well, and as a small business owner too, it's you this is what you sign up for. as far as kind of 24/7.
Yep.
You're on the clock. And you throw employees in there, and it's a whole different ball game. And so work-life balance is that in itself is a full-time job.
Yes.
Just mastering.
Yeah.
But then balancing a marriage, having two beautiful little girls. And also, I know you were in the process of a remodel. You guys moved into another house. How do you? How did you find a way to say, okay, let's balance. Let's find some sort of rhythm.
So, 10 years ago, I was introduced to. It was through. There was a Seattle realtor. His name's Thatch Nguyen. He built some incredible apartments up in Seattle, and he reached out to us literally 10 years ago. It was like 2009, I think, and said, "Hey, I'm throwing this rooftop party, and I need a banner." And I was like, "Okay, cool, we can do a banner for you." And he's like, "LRG is sponsoring it, and so I'm gonna put you in touch with this guy, my buddy Kev." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so Kev and I started emailing. At the time, Kev was in and out of real estate, but he was also doing Peace Academy. And so Peace Academy was essentially a program that he went into inner city schools and just taught mindset and a bunch of different things. And believe it or not, a guy I went to high school with moved to Long Beach and was part of Peace Academy. Wow. So it was like this crazy, like meant to be situation. And so him and I became buddies at that time. And then I didn't realize at that point how influential he was going to be in my life. So fast forward a few years later, he created this thing from a kind of a wealth of a bunch of different mentors called the 7 Equities. And it's mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, money, in that order, right? So mind, body, soul is yourself. Like, what am I doing for myself to be the best version of myself? Because once I'm good, then I can take care of my family, which is the next important thing. So if I'm constantly burying myself into the ground, how am I going to have anything left in the tank for my family? And then friends. It sucks because you have to prioritize things, but it's true. It's like you got to take care of your vessel, then you got to take care of your family, then friends, then business, and then money. So when you reverse all that stuff and you start chasing business and money, you become like, what are you chasing it for? But in my opinion, the way that it's laid out is perfect. And so it's a calibration tool. So 0 means I need to work on it. 10 means it's perfect, which is impossible to get to that perfection. So the first time I did it, it was probably 5-6 years ago. I wrote it out and I was like, what am I doing for my mind? I'm like, not a whole lot. It's like, I'll put a 5. And then body, I'm like, I'm kind of in shape, 5. Soul, it's like, and when you start breaking it down, you start thinking of these things. What am I actually doing to kind of fill my cup back up? Because if you're giving all the time and your cup's half empty, how are you supposed to? You have to keep replenishing. And so I kept giving out. And so once I got through the equities and calibrating it, I was super unbalanced. I was literally like 5, 8 for family. I'm putting all this, what I thought was real energy into it. And then friends, 2. I'm not spending any time with friends. Business, 8, because I'm putting all this time into business. And then money, it's like, it's a 4. We always need more money. Right. And so I look at it and I'm just like, this is not balanced at all. How do I want to live each day? And so that's when it really started to click that I might have been spending time in those areas, but I wasn't spending quality time in those areas. Specifically family. When you're gone for 85% of your day and 15% of your day is with family, that's not a true 8. That's more about like a 4. And so this gave me this tool that I can start like looking at. I want to live a true balanced life, but I got to start with taking care of myself. But then I started realizing that I was stealing time from other areas for myself, and it's like, this isn't balance. Like, how do I get balanced? And so scheduling, saying no, and then making sure to do the things that I truly want to do and like maximizing my time, because driving from here to Seattle every day, that's an hour and a half.
Right.
What can I be utilizing that time for? Just quality time with my family, or going for that run. I can start displacing the time to create that balance, because when I'm balanced, then it allows me good structure to grow upon it.
Right.
And I was super unbalanced between moving the business from Seattle to Tukwila, buying a house and remodeling it, having a kid, being married, business was growing, we had 30 employees. I pretty much got lost in the sauce. And I started to calibrate it again, and I was all over the place. And so Kevion Sturdivant is his name, and he's been, he's like the mega real estate agent in SoCal. I think you know who he is. Dude's unbelievable, but he's been an integral part in just kind of creating this balanced life,
right?
And it's starting with your mindset and like taking care of your body, but then also filling your soul, making sure that I am as good as possible, bringing as much positive energy and right energy to my family. When they're happier and healthier, then all of a sudden it's like I do have a little bit more time with friends, but then the business and money flows because people want to actually be around you and work with you. So if you're constantly just burying yourself with work and you have a bad attitude, people don't want to work with you. So all of a sudden, so that's why it's business and money last. Those are the last things I focus on. Yet they will be the best things that will ever happen once I get right in the 5 equities.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, and it's totally true. I feel that if you are, like you were saying, taking care of yourself and working your way down and taking care of your family and then your friends, and essentially within that you're building value for not only for yourself but for your friends and family. And I think it just circles back. I think if you're just taking care of the people around you, whatever industry you're working in, I just think it comes back in some shape or form.
And there's a caveat to the 7 equities.
Ooh, here we go.
The 8th, contribution. What are you doing for the ones around you? Like you can't just take all the time. You have to give back in order to be able to. It's the cup, It's like you're giving all the time and not doing things to fill it back up. The same thing is if you're taking out of the cup and not filling it back up with contribution. So no matter what I do, I will always have to find time and want to find time to contribute. And the one thing I realized I wasn't doing was contributing to Tacoma.
Right.
That's like my big. I live here. I paid taxes here. Obviously, I loved what I did up in Tukwila, Seattle. But this is home. At the end of the day, home is here, and I wasn't doing enough here, and I really wanted to make my mark here. And that kind of helped influence the decision too, by moving on from the business, which is now out there. It's like I resigned just a little over a week ago. I put in a notice because I wanted to. There's a couple things that happened in this process. When I'm commuting, had 90 minutes to listen to podcasts and audiobooks, and everybody I'm talking to or listening to, they're just like, how are you utilizing your time? Are you maximizing your time? Are you spending your time wisely? And I'm just like, golly, like break check. It's like, no, not necessarily. And then in one of these podcasts I was listening to, his name is Brad, I can't remember his last name, but it was on Kevin's podcast, Project Mindset. He was interviewing this guy, and he asked the question. He was like, think of the people you love the most. I was like, all right, I'm Brad. I'm like, okay. He's like, are they getting the best of you, or are they going to get the rest of you? And I answered that question honestly. I'm like, they're getting the rest of me. I'm like, so that kind of like seeded this thing, right? And I'm like, damn, like how am I utilizing my time? Regardless of how much I love what I was doing and the relationships with the staff and the clients, and it's like that I helped build this thing from scratch. My identity was essentially built around this thing. But my family was here. It's like, am I giving them the best of the rest? And I was giving them the rest. And so that kind of seeded a little bit. And then Jesse Itzler, he is another person I was listening to. And he has a big relationship with time conversation. And you have to look at it from a different window of, he states like the average person lives to 79 years old. And he's like, my parents are 72 or whatever it was. He's like, I have 5 years left if they live to be the average. 5 years, that seems like a long time. He's like, but that's not true. I only see them once a year. So I have 5 visits with them. Yeah. And I was like, so I started thinking about this, like how is my time being spent in the areas that, that are the most important? So mind, body, soul. Am I taking care of myself? I'm having trouble finding time just to take care of myself. And then family, man, it's like I need to spend more time. And then I have this little 4.5-year-old and now a 3-month-old. Those were huge kickers that I needed to figure out how to get back to spend more time with them.
And, being a small business owner myself for the last, since 2012, 2013, here in Tacoma, and kind of, once you do that, your roots are kind of set. Yeah. And you settle in. But, like for you, if your business was up north, was there ever that option of you saying, hey, you know what, instead of sticking to Tacoma, let's bring the family and just bring them closer to work. What was it that said, this is home base, this is where we're going to be. Tacoma is home.
Well, I didn't realize it until literally last week on why it was so important. Because I very well could have just picked up my family and moved, right? But my wife has a ton of family here. My family's here. All my friends are here. And that was like a main component. It's like, these are where all my real friends and my family's a few minutes away. But when you have kids, it kind of changes some things. When I was younger, I didn't have strong relationships with my grandparents because they were all scattered across the U.S. Not to anyone's fault. That's just the way it was. And I always wanted like a relationship with my grandparents, but I never got a chance to. And what I realized on a drive out to Dewata with my father-in-law is I was kind of staying around for my children, but also my in-laws, my parents and my wife's parents, because they get this opportunity that I didn't get to have a really cool relationship with their grandkids. And he was just expressing to me, he's like, thanks for not leaving, because now I get a chance to have a real relationship with my granddaughters. And I'm like, I didn't realize it wasn't for me. Like the decision was already made well in advance, and I just don't know why I like really stayed until that conversation. I was like, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than everything. It's because my daughters now get a relationship with both grandparents. I get to check that off, the thing that I didn't get to do. It was like a pretty cool moment. Like I didn't realize it until then. They're 10 minutes from us, and my parents are 10 minutes from us. Yeah. So we literally see them every day, almost every day. And like my daughter stayed at my parents this weekend, and then my wife's parents came over and hung out with the kids just the other day. It's like something that I didn't get to have, and now I get to provide for them because I stayed, and I didn't realize it until that moment. So I was pretty stoked on that.
That's awesome, man. I think there's something about Tacoma that one thing I've always noticed is sometimes people up and go, and they go move to Seattle, they move to Portland, whatever. For some reason, I see a lot of people coming back.
Yeah.
People go and they do their thing, and they end up back. There's something about Tacoma that it's addicting. It's funny. Whenever so in real estate, when I'm talking to like people coming from elsewhere and looking to move into Tacoma, and everyone knows Seattle, right?
Yep.
And so then, tell me about Tacoma. I'm like, well, how I describe Tacoma is like Seattle. When you go to Seattle, typically people are going to say, hey, you need to check out the Space Needle. You need to check out the EMP. You need to. There's all these insane, Quest Field or CenturyLink, and there's all these insane places that you can go, sightseeing and all this stuff. It's a beautiful city. And in Tacoma, the first thing I feel like I tend to brag about and tell is you need to go meet this person.
Yep.
You need to go talk to Dusty and Alicia.
Yeah.
It's like Tacoma is what it is because of the people in it.
100% agree.
And like, it's, and maybe my perspective is a little different being the small business owner, because that even the small business owner community is super cool. You just, you're all in it together.
Yep.
And
it's Grit City for a reason, right?
Yeah, and so it's though it's modernized, it's still this blue collar city. Yeah. And so I love being able to be like, no, you need to meet, my artist friend Balashodas. He just recently moved here, and he can, just these little conversations that it's not, we don't have a Space Needle. Our dome is pretty old, but like it's the people that you get to do life with.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what has kept Brooke and I here. Because it's just the quality of life. It's just, if I can surround myself by the people that will encourage me, make me better, call me out, have a beer with, like, that's the type of life I want.
Yeah, it's very accessible here, which in Seattle, I feel like it's a production to go anywhere. You know, it's like if I want to go to a Mariners game, it's crazy. But if I want to go to a Rangers game, it's like not that big a deal. I don't know. It's because I've lived both lives.
Right.
You know, I've worked up there for so long, and the hustle and bustle is crazy and chaotic and all this stuff, which is really exciting. But coming back here, there was just such a sense of just community and calmness. Like everyone does sort of know each other, but everyone is also doing their own thing. There's a crazy amount of opportunity. There's so much talent here that's just untapped because it's just not exposed, because maybe it is under the shadow a little bit of a bigger city, but now it's getting this opportunity to go well beyond it. You know, with the internet, with more people traveling in and out of the city, it's exposing how beautiful this city actually is. And that was one reason why I started the Tacoma Instagram page, is because everyone loves the city, but no one was talking about it on scale. They were talking about it in their friendship groups and stuff like that. It's like no one really wanted to admit they loved Tacoma, which was really odd to me, because I was always like, yeah, I love Tacoma, especially working in Seattle. They're like, man, Tacoma stinks, blah, 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 hilltop this. And I'm like, but you've never been to the city and actually invested into the people and to the actual areas and like the restaurants and the architecture, the history. I mean, it's a beautiful place if you take the time to do it. They just had this perceived image by a couple of things. And so, but once people actually dove into it and realized like how cool the city actually is, they started moving here.
Yeah. I remember when EJ came through the shop downtown, Urban Exchange, and he did our die cuts, he did our decals for the windows, and he was like, hey dude, on the low, I'm gonna post this on the Tacoma, Washington Instagram. And I was like, wait, that's you? He's like, yeah, man, don't tell anybody. I was like, oh my God. Me and Brooke were so stoked, and we were just like, man, this guy's like Batman. Just like,
man, I don't know what it is. I just realized that it needed so I didn't come up with the idea of like all of a sudden it's like I need to start a Tacoma Instagram page. A friend of mine that lived here for a long time moved to San Diego. He was a photographer, and he created a San Diego page, blew up, and he's like, we just had a conversation. I'm like, I'm gonna start a Tacoma page because I want to see what happens when people start getting exposed to other areas of the city, like the photography or the landscape, the architecture, the businesses, all of it. And it blew up. For 6 years, it's grown to like, I don't know, there's like 23,000 people just in Tacoma that, I mean, everyone loves Tacoma, and now they finally get an opportunity to talk about it. I didn't want to expose myself as like the owner of it, is because I wanted the city to naturally kind of influence and encourage people without putting a voice behind it. The only reason I exposed myself is because it made sense at this point that I'm coming back to Tacoma at some point. It's like I want to be able to invest more in the community here. And so that gives me an opportunity to say, hey, I actually run this page. I want to meet you. Can I come and meet you and have coffee? And I've met so many cool people through the page now, just sitting down having coffee and just learning more about them and how I can help them. And I would have never been able to do that if I didn't start that page. But at first, it wasn't about me. It was about encouraging other people through like Tacoma is supporting me, not EJ from Tacoma is supporting me. So it was never about me getting, having this big page and all this stuff. It was, I just wanted to expose the same feeling that I got from Tacoma, the encouragement, like the great people, and I wanted to push that through the page without it being tied back to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so, I mean, now going from hopping on with die cut, starting and helping out there, to years later taking that leap of faith where you are today, how does Tacoma, what role does Tacoma play? Like, how is Tacoma here, how does it play a role in your life now?
Well, first and foremost is like I just wanted to get back to Tacoma. Like, so commuting 3 hours a day, give or take, 5 days a week, 252 days a year. It's like 780 hours a year just driving. So my main goal was just to get back here to Tacoma, kind of replant some roots a little bit. Like, even though I've been here for a long time, it's like I haven't been in the city, like actually living in the city during the week in 15 years. So I'm just want to refamiliarize myself. So coming back here, finding some work, and being able to just kind of reinvest my schedule and discipline back into the city without driving or feeling rushed to get back on the road or whatever. But there's two things that I really want to continue investing into, which is the Opportunity Has No Off-Season mentorship program. All that is I get young professionals, entrepreneurs, creatives, artists in a room, and I bring a guest in. It was sort of kind of like this, but with a guest of 20 to 30 people. It's kind of just, I've always embraced a growth mindset. And I felt like Tacoma has all these great people, but they need a support system, something a little bit more deeper. And, there's networking events and all this stuff, but it's very pitchy, and, there's a sales agenda. I'm literally putting these things on for free, bringing in the high level people that I know to just share knowledge and hope that these, guests show up and actually want to be part of the community, engage in it, but then also grow as a professional, grow as an individual, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And it didn't exist here. It's like I'm connecting with all these people, but nobody is bringing it all together. And so that's something I really want to continue doing. I've done 3 events so far in Tacoma. One was at Anthem Coffee, one was at ETC, and one was at 7 Seas. And so I want to continue growing that to actually be more like kind of like I don't want to call it like a growth summit, but I want to bring in some high level keynote speakers and continue to teach people what I've learned over the years, and just the 7 equities, the mindset, the discipline, the things that helped me get to where I'm at today. I want to be able to just infiltrate into the city. So I'll be doing that as much as I can. But then also the Tacoma Run Club is what I started to, which is for mind, body, and soul, which is another just kind of a community-based thing, which is, it's not about the running per se, it's the running gets everyone together, and all of a sudden it started attracting all these young professionals, entrepreneurs, creatives. We're all with different walks of life, but we all just wanted to take care of ourselves. We needed that little kind of brain dump, and running. I never liked running, but when it's turned into kind of therapeutic meditation. And so like when you go run 3 miles, you have give or take 30 minutes to just kind of process it, but it's also exerting a lot of negative energy or whatever. By the time I'm done with the run, I felt great. And so we turned it into this more of a community thing. And so every Sunday we meet down at Point Ruston and we just run Ruston Way. And it's brought some of the coolest people together. And then now these people are doing work together, and there's friendships being born. So I want to keep doing stuff like that to really continue to bring the community together. So for me, it's just getting back here first, settling in for a second, because I've been on this 15-year highway to Seattle grind for a long time, that it's like I really want to start sinking my fangs in at minimum 15 hours a week back into the community. But first and foremost is I want to make sure that I have time to take care of myself, my family, my friends. Then the business and money will kind of work itself out. Just freeing that space up, because at the end of the day, it's not about necessarily the work that you're doing, it's how you are working. It's like that's what I think always separated us. It's not what we were making, it is how we were doing it. Engaging, creating relationships, creating community, taking care of other people, being empathetic. And I really want to just bring that back here to Tacoma and kind of teach people what I've learned over the last 15 years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think Tacoma is such a great place. Well, like right now, it's so cool to see this overwhelmingly wave of not even new ideas. It's ideas that people have had but didn't feel like, Tacoma's a place that would allow it. And now you're seeing, whether they're new to Tacoma, you look at Dusty and Alicia, these guys coming from Seattle, setting up shop and creating this beautiful space. And then you have Andy and Diamond down at Satori. They're about to open up their second shop, sister shop, and or even Anna Mishke with her with Peach Baby. We've always told her, hey, do your artwork, and Brooke has been her biggest fan.
Shout out to Anna.
Yeah, and so you're seeing all of these ideas, whether new or old, come to life, and for watching, especially the downtown area, but for when we kind of started our business and open, close 6 days a week sort of deal, and it was kind of like tumbleweeds,
right?
Not only physically, but even like mentally, like there was just not much going on. Right. And Brooke and I were like, where is everyone? Not only where are the customers, but also where are the other creators? Right. And now we're watching, and they're just all around us, and they're coming out of the woodworks. Yep. And it takes sometimes people, like yourself, people to jump in first for people to follow. Yeah. And so it's a cool time for Tacoma, and I love it when I see, like with your story, see you saying, hey, I'm just going to come back and invest in Tacoma, because that's what we want. If you're a local Tacoma and you're like, yeah, do that. It's such a great place, and
there's still so much potential here that's still untapped.
Right.
I feel like this is just the start of what Tacoma can continue to be. And I think the city embraces it too. Because there are so many diverse people here.
Right.
They're all doing cool things, but it is accessible. Back to that word, it's like people want to. I've realized how nice everyone is here. It's like no one's like shutting them out, or they're like oh, that's not cool. It's like they're letting everyone be individuals here. And it may work and it may not work, but everyone's at least encouraging and motivating each other to try to do it, where in a big city, you get lost. You get lost quickly, and so you get this opportunity to make something. Like this place here is incredible. It may or may not work in a bigger city, but they saw that coming to a smaller city, they can really engage in the community, make an impact in the community, and that's a legacy-driven thing.
Right.
It's so much bigger than just opening a business. It's like, how can you influence the people in that community to just be better stewards of the community? And it's really hard to do in a bigger city, because there's so many people in and out all the time, where you'll get locals here and you'll get the reoccurring people, and then you get opportunities like this to sit in a cool spot. Like, it's really hard to do in a bigger city, and I think people are really hungry to make it happen for themselves, because quality of life, I think, is something that people forget. Like, that's super important, because you have this dream of starting a business, owning a business, but realizing how much work it put you in, 24/7 grind, 365, and at a certain point you break down and you realize that it's not always, and that's not the most important thing for you anymore.
Right.
And as things change, we get older, we want to take care of ourselves, we want to take care of our families, we want to have a little bit of downtime. It's like, so trying to realize what you're building is making sure that you're building it for like the right reasons and the right quality of life that you want to do, that also may or may not impact other people around you. But I think people get so hungry early on that they don't think about like the long-term effects of like what it may be. And it's hard. It's super hard. Yeah. It'll break you down over time, but it takes a long time a lot of times, because us gritty people, we're like, oh, this is no big deal. It could always be worse. But at the end of the day, it's like, when our time is done, it's like we're done. We got to realize that tomorrow really isn't promised. And if we don't do what we want to do now and take care of the things that we want to do now, you may never have that opportunity. So that's why I don't chase money, because the money can't go with me when I die. Yeah.
Well, I know you got some babies to go play with, but one last question. What's one thing, or maybe the most important thing, why are you thankful for Tacoma?
It's allowed me to be me. It really has. Like, it's never been, no matter what I did or where I've gone, and there was like weird judgment of just like the stigma at Tacoma, it's always allowed me to be who I am as an individual, regardless of where I went and what I did within the city. But it was, what's the best way to put it? It just never passed judgment on me. It really did just allow me to be me, no matter where I went. And so anywhere I would go, and people would judge me from being from Tacoma, like it was really funny. It's really funny how that worked.
Yeah, that's a real thing. It's crazy.
It was almost a weekly thing. And so when I came back home, it's like I just felt like I was embraced by where I was supposed to be.
You were home.
I was home, and just it gave me opportunity. There were so many incredible things for, like, especially through art. The city embraced like graffiti. Like, it allowed me to really follow the path that I really wanted to follow. And so Tacoma just continuously just showed up for me when I needed it to. And I kept more or less leaving the city. And so that's what I want to kind of return at this point, is like what it did for me is like created opportunity and embraced me as an individual. It's like now I want to come back. I want to support that and try to get other people to feel the same thing.
That's great, man. Well, I appreciate you being
This is rad, yeah.
the first kind of going through this for the first time with me, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you and hearing about your story. And I hear it seems like big things are going to be happening for you and your family. And I would say and suggest, first, just take a breather, relax for longer than a week.
Just taking a few deep breaths. I haven't done this in a long time.
I mean, it's awesome. But I'm going to throw, Zach, you're going to grab it right in that bag. Yeah, Got to get you fitted.
Oh, dude.
Get you fitted.
You already know.
You already know.
shoot.
Bling, bling, bling.
Dude, thank you.
But yeah, man, we're stoked for you, and
I'm stoked to be
congrats.
back. Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me.
Yep,
That's
yep.
rad.
So guys, thanks for joining us. Again, Ejay O'Donnell making moves. We're gonna have this on our 1884 Tacoma website. As of right now, it's the No Name series. Stay tuned. There will be more. Outside of that, guys, keep it classy. I don't know. Cool, dude. We did it.
Oh, we did it.
freaking did